This week's episode of the Erickson Exchange is broken up into two parts because we talked too darn much about Splatoon 2. Part 2 will be released tomorrow around the same time, but for now, enjoy Part 1, you silly little rascal. Hey guys, I'm James Erickson.
And I'm Andres Erickson, and welcome back to... So, after 4 long months of waiting, Splatoon 2 is finally here. But is it as good as everybody hoped it would be? The truth, ladies and gentlemen, may shock you. Just kidding, it's great. LOLOL.
Oh.
So almost a year ago, James and I created this video called 10 Things Splatoon 2 Needs. And we made that video before the sequel is ever even announced. So if for any reason you want to take a look at that, we'll put it in the description of this video. But just for fun today, we thought we would go through that list we made and kind of see how it stacks up to our previous expectations and hopes. So let's get to it.
The first thing we put on our video that we felt like Splatoon 2 needed was local multiplayer. We're not talking about local multiplayer like one person has their own Switch and another person has their own Switch and you get to play together local, because that is technically local multiplayer, but we're talking about several people playing on one console. Back then we thought that it would be a good idea, but did it happen, Andres? Did they bring multiplayer to it?
No, they did not.
It's not a big deal, but it is something that makes you scratch your head.
The second bullet point on our list was expanded single-player mode, and I actually haven't played through the single-player mode yet. James has. I think what we talked about in the video was we were hoping for a more in-depth story and also something more intricate, I guess, than the first Splatoons was. Even though the first Splatoons was good for what it was, but
yeah.
I don't know. From what I've seen, it looks pretty similar, but you played it. What do you think?
Comparing the story, aside from the single-player gameplay, comparing just the story actually wasn't that much different. But we'll get into that later when we talk about what happened to Callie. But we're not gonna spoil anything now. We'll spoil things later in the video, and we'll give you a spoiler alert. But the story itself wasn't as in-depth as I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah.
But it was fine. When it comes to gameplay, to me, they did add a lot. They added a lot more features, more things you had to do, and I think a lot of the levels were more complex. I played through it and I loved it, but I also really, really like Splatoon. So, the third bullet point we had on our previous video was more game modes. And I was thinking about this earlier because I watched through the video. We know there wasn't any actual multiplayer or player versus player game modes for ranked or something other than Turf War, but I remember that they added Salmon Run, so
Oh yeah, they did.
I guess that does kind of count as an added game mode, and I love Salmon Run so far. What do you think about Salmon Run?
I think Salmon Run's a lot of fun too. I can see it getting addicting.
Yeah, I think it'll be. I was thinking about this earlier too, that once we start playing the more difficult levels of Salmon Run more often, I think we're gonna have to create strategies and stuff like that, because I find when it gets more difficult, people just end up like dying in no strategic area. They're just in a random place and they just die because there's just too much stuff going on. So I think that'll get more fun. I mean, it is already fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think in our video we made, we were hoping for other game modes, like there's Tower Control, there's Rainmaker, there's Splat Zones. And then when you're just playing not in ranked, there's just Turf War, which is good for what it is. But I think we're hoping to see what, I guess, the brains behind Splatoon could come up with further. And there wasn't clearly none of that has changed. It's all pretty much the same. But with Salmon Run added, they did add something, so it's not entirely disappointing. And it's all still really fun, so it's not a huge deal.
Well, plus to add on to that, we didn't know about Tower Control or Rainmaker until later in Splatoon's life, and so there's still a chance that they could add. And plus, there's a rumor of a 4th ranked mode coming out in the future, because there was like an empty slot. When it showed the 3 ranked battles, there was a 4th empty slot, and so people are thinking maybe in the future we'll get a 4th ranked mode, and that would be cool.
That'd be really cool.
But even if they kept the 3, for me personally, I would be fine with that. But I think that's because I just play very competitively. So if it's all the same as Splatoon 1, I wouldn't really care. So
yeah, I mean, I would like to see more. I think after a while, I'm gonna start feeling like it's a lot like Splatoon 1. But
yeah, I guess we'll see. They said they'll have a year and a half of updates. I think so. Weapons, maps, game modes, maybe. We'll see.
Yes. Number 4 was voice chat, and we're both already chuckling because that kind of is happening, but not in the way that anybody wants it.
No, they went full Nintendo on this one.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you can explain it. I mean, I don't know if you guys have already heard about how they're handling voice chat, but it's just not pretty. And I don't think I'm even gonna do it. I'm not gonna use it.
You have the Nintendo Switch Online app, which is pretty cool within itself. When you go to the Splatoon 2 section, you have the gear and everything, but it comes with the voice chat part, and so many people, there was so much confusion, even up to like the other day, people were still thinking that you can voice chat with the random people you're teamed up with on Ranked and on Turf War and stuff. But that's not what Nintendo did. It's, you create your room, your voice chat room, I guess, and you can only invite friends, and you can only voice chat with friends. And I've heard already from a couple of YouTubers, I think, that it's not even that good. Like, it's just half-baked, as Ash or Derek Bitnerd said. So why not use Discord? Discord's been out for a while.
I was gonna say, people are just gonna end up just using Discord anyway. I don't know. I don't know why it's so hard to just add a voice chat, and if you don't want it, turn it off. Like so many other games have done in the past, but
it would help a lot. It would help so much for ranked mode specifically, because, you know, if someone's trying to flank you and one of your teammates sees them and you don't, it's hard to, it'd be better communication if they had it. I am glad, though, they did add the ouch word. Also, they changed come on to this way, so I think that's a little bit better. And then it changes to ouch when you die, so you know when someone's around killing somebody. Though it's not being used just yet. People need to start using that more often. So if you're playing Ranked or Turf War and you die, click up on the D-pad so people know you died and someone's around. Number 5 on our 10 things that Splatoon 2 needs was freedom to choose stages. Splatoon 1 had every 4 hours they would have 2 stages available, and that was it. Like, you had those 2 stages, you had to wait 4 hours to play on 2 other stages. Back then we said that Splatoon 2 needs to have stage choice, or the ability to choose your stage, but there are a lot of people who choose their weapon and gear based off of what maps are in the rotation, and I am definitely one of them, and I think many very competitive players choose to do that. Do you have any experience with that? Like, do you do that at all? Or I know that you use one thing of gear a lot.
I'm much more casual than you in Splatoon, so no. I just pick what I want.
That's okay. But because I've been in a circle of competitive players the last 2 years. A lot of people base their gear and weapons off of the map they're choosing, and I think that's a very big reason why they only had 2 stages per 4 hours. In Splatoon 2, they changed it to every 2 hours, and I actually didn't realize how much I would enjoy that, because now I feel like I'm doing more game modes than I was before. I can fit in like Rainmaker, and then I don't have to spend like 4 hours playing Rainmaker. I can spend 2 hours, or if I get on like at the last 30 minutes or something like that, it'll change. But it was funny because I was watching Josh from the BitBlock the other day, and he was saying how nobody chooses their gear and weapons based off of the stages that are available, and I completely disagreed with that. And tell me what you guys think in the comments. Do you choose your gear and weapons based off the stages that are available? But you also have to answer the question, do you play competitively or do you just play casually?
Number 6 on our list was refined ranked mode, and again, I'm not level 10 yet because I haven't played it too much yet, but from what I know, it seems like not much has changed, just because I know the game modes are the same and stuff. But you've played, so what do you have to say about that?
Well, the one change they added was the fact that each rank mode has their separate rank.
Wait, what? Oh yeah, they did do that. That's true. They did refine the ranked mode.
Maybe they did refine it.
I actually kind of like that because I feel like there were some game modes that I was better at, I guess.
Number 7, we said there should be less lobby restrictions. Like, you should be able to change your weapons and stuff. Or browse around and stuff like that. And it seems to me that Splatoon 2 is exactly the same.
Yep.
I guess back then, both of us were more like, can we just do more? Like, can we change weapon during the thing?
Yeah.
During the, whatever.
While we
the
wait.
waiting time? It's just the same. Like, just comparing it to Splatoon 2, Splatoon 1, it's the exact same.
Yeah.
Which, it is what it is.
Number 8 on our list was polished controls. And it's been a while since I've really played Splatoon 1 a lot, so I don't really remember what we were referring to, but stupid Andres from 10 months ago. The only notable thing I think we have to talk about is the motion controls, because they don't seem to be as sharp as Splatoon 1, a lot of people are noticing, which is questionable. And I think ultimately it'll just be something you have to get used to, and I guess the reaction time isn't as solid as Splatoon 1 was, and you're supposed to be getting better as sequels progress in the area of like mechanics, and that was kind of like
That was the biggest disappointment for me when it comes to Splatoon 2, that the motion controls were just not as sensitive as the motion controls for Splatoon 1. And every time I say that, there's a specific like type of person that's always like, just change the settings. And I think to myself, I'm not an idiot.
Hey, thanks.
I know I know you can change the sensitivity. But they weren't as snappy or as the reaction time, like you said, was not as good as Splatoon 1. The final release of Splatoon 2 was better than the way it was for Splatfest and the test fire, but I've just accepted the fact that I need to retrain my muscle memory. And that's just the way it's gonna be. So, number 9, we thought that we would need to play. We needed to play as the Octolings.
We thought we knew what we wanted, but we were a young species.
Gosh, back then there were so many rumors or just desires and speculations of being able to play the Octolings, and it would be cool to play as them. It would be cool if they would add a game mode where we can play as them.
Yeah.
But at this point, I'm not sure. Though, the fact that there's an Octoling in the announcement time, like Marina,
that's like a whole conversation in itself if you really think about it.
There's so many different theories and stuff that could spawn off of that.
Yeah.
Like, will we be able to be Octolings in the future? Will there be a different story? I don't know. I'm just confused as to why Marina is an Octoling.
Yeah. Number 10 was respect for itself. Obviously, I mean, that's not something you can really look at and be like, does it have respect for itself? But what we just meant was we were hoping the sequel would still stay true to the Splatoon spirit and not try way too hard to be new and big and different. And I don't think it did at all. It still feels right. It's still in the world of Splatoon. And they made good improvements, and they didn't do anything crazy, or too crazy, I guess, in a bad way. So I guess it still respects itself.
Well, for me, this was exactly what I wanted for a sequel. You know, you can't make things perfect. So in a world that we live in where things aren't perfect, I think this is what I was expecting, and this is what I wanted, and so I'm very happy where they went with Splatoon 2. Thanks for watching part 1 of this week's Erickson Exchange, and keep your eyes peeled for part 2 tomorrow, where we'll be discussing what happened to Callie in the story of Splatoon 2, and also reading your comments on what you thought happened to her before the game was released. Till then, why don't you check out one of these videos here, and make sure you subscribe. Bye-bye!